Is it as simple as saying Obey is not meshing correctly right off the bat? Should be expected almost when you have a new member, especially in the support role. Is it that easy, or is it more than that right now?
I think maybe it's just that they're doing things that they're comfortable with individually for themselves. Like Xaliea likes Chunga Soul. I'm sure CaptainTwig likes his Arachne in the jungle. But it doesn't seem to be translating very well in the SPL here, or at least the teams that they're playing against in the SPL thus far. Playing against Rival and Dignitas, not the two teams worth experimenting that far-fetched.
Oh, well, we'll see what they can do here in game number 2, trying to get off the ground a little bit and find a victory here against Dignitas, but it's going to be a tough ask. Dig in that first pick selection once more, and just like before, they ban away this Serket. I believe the bans here from Dignitas in the last game were Serket and Nemesis, as I flip the page on my overly sized notepad here. Thoth and Kukulkan were the 2 bans for Obey Alliance, and so far, so good to just try and repeat what they had before.
It seems that Dignitas have no reason to really change their picks or ban strategy, especially in the same first pick. Obey Alliance, after losing that last game, choose to go for the second pick status there. They last picked Chang'e for Xaliea. Is that going to be the same course of action here?
I can't imagine that it is. I mean, you don't get beat like that and then just say, it was the execution. You know what I mean? Especially when the early game didn't go horrendously wrong or anything like that for Obey. It kind of started fairly standard overall. Nothing that was really super impactful ultimately in the game. The only time we see those salty runbacks when you get blown out is when the early game, you give up a double kill in a duel lane early on, and you're like, if without that we would have won. I don't think we had one of those situations here for Obey, so I can't imagine that they're going to just stick their feet in the ground and keep it going with the exact same sort of draft. But as I mentioned, these bans, so the same that we had in game 1.
I'm expecting the Daji here yet again for Team Dignitas, unless they're feeling generous and willing to give that up to Obey Alliance if they want something else. And instead, no, QvoFred had a lights-out performance game number 1. Going to run it back here in game number 2 of this best of 3.
I almost started writing it down before it even got locked in, and then you made me hesitate totally. I thought maybe you're right, maybe Dignitas will go with something different, and we were wrong there. It is the Daji. Discordia picked up. That's different for Obey Alliance. Also no Sylvanas early on quite yet, though they still have one more pick before Dignitas has another opportunity. Discordia has been one of the goddesses that has really stepped up and made a bigger impact than I really thought she would early on in Season 5, but has been clearly very competitive. And Ullr the pick. So like you mentioned, Arkkyl was bullying Ataraxia very often with this pick. Now Obey has it for themselves.
I'm sure that as a result, though, Anhur is going to be locked in probably for Arkkyl. He likes this kind of defensive/offensive pseudo hunter to be able to answer fire with fire. Ullr likes to play aggressive. So can Anhur, though. But it's going to be Camazotz for variety more than likely, and Giannis for Zyrhoes.
Well, Camazotz selected this early on for Dignitas, even though they already have their jungler, to try and keep that out of the hands of CaptainTwig. Remember, CaptainTwig, one of the first junglers to really take to Camazotz. Homie is the one, Homie FA in North America, that everyone kind of thinks of. But Obey really latched onto that pick a lot, specifically variety in the jungle, or in the solo lane, excuse me, and then CaptainTwig in the jungle, so they know and each other play it quite often. So they take it away and force Obey back to this Sylvanas. There's something to be said for confidence in your own play, even when it hasn't worked out so far.
And the idea here is probably banning away some warriors that was going to lock him down if that's Trixtank's idea, but instead banning away the Anhur. I think they're going to be leaning on making sure that Ataraxia is not going to have a poor matchup.
Could be the Ama here, and indeed it is. So a couple A-gods banned away, Anhur and Amaterasu, to make sure that that dual lane stays a little bit safer, at least from what Obey thinks Dignitas wants to do. Chalk the ban by Dig. Chalk really has been banned away by Dig or picked against them in every game so far today. Why do you think that is? Is this something that Dig has been playing against a lot and feels is strong?
Well, they knew that, what was it, Mouse Sports really preferred it in the first game where they banned it away, and then the second game they let it through. Big Man Tings played it in the mid lane. So not much credit, didn't do what they probably wanted it to happen. But knowing Xaliea as well, he's been known for his chalk in the yesteryear of Season 2/3 when you would be able to pick up the red potion chalk.
Well, Odin selected here for Dignitas. I'd imagine that's going to go to Trixtank. Can't imagine it's going anywhere else right now. And Hachiman will round out their draft. So a little bit physical heavy, only relying on the Giannis, but it can work out whenever you've got 4 physical. Odin really there for the cage to lock down Sylvanas and Sobek. CaptainTwig also sticking with his guns, going to the Arachne jungle, even into the Odin. Totally, what are you thinking about this game, just looking at the drafts?
I would have loved to see a Hunbats there instead of Arachne. He's still able to get away from the Odin Cage. I think long-term, Team Dignitas should be able to win this out. But if CaptainTwig can isolate somebody, get a first blood, it should go Obey's favor if they can get some Gold Furies under their belt.
There you go, Obey still looking for their first victory in Season 5. Will this game be the game? Tom and Taco will tell you why.
I'm still looking. That is definitely an Arachne. It hasn't worked yet, but we keep seeing them go back to it.
Is it still a salty run back if you do it until it wins?
I mean, maybe. I think it's a stubborn run back. We saw it. Well, it's interesting. CaptainTwig actually ran a Twitter poll to see if he would play it. We ran our own poll, and we asked you guys who you think are going to win the game. Let us know in the chat. CaptainTwig let us know in the game that he's going to be playing that Arachne. So we'll see if it works out. Like I said, it didn't work out in the earlier sets. You think it's going to work here?
Dignitas is a very strong opponent to go against, especially if you're trying out new things with a new member to the team, because we talked about it in Game 1 and we were talking about it just now. iRaffer's always been, oh, hold that thought though, there's actually a ton of action breaking out. All 5 members from both teams are just trying to attack each other.
Yeah, we saw Dignitas group up as 5 last time around, and now Obey Alliance are going to do the same thing, looking for the kills. Little spread out here as the Bat gets by himself. Nice hit from Zyrhoes. Oh, but he gets rooted. Nice shot from iRaffer. CaptainTwig trying to deal with it. And that's level 1. That's Arachne. She's going to heal up a little bit more. There's Trixtank. She could be next. iRaffer snatches it away. But what a good start for Obey Alliance.
I was going to be so disappointed if no one ended up dying there, considering how that started off. Just a clown fiesta to a degree.
Yeah.
Of both of those teams just meeting up at that one spot. It seems as though they had the same idea in mind, find somebody off guard and get the pick, but turns out it's only going to work out for Obey, and a promising start so far into game number 2.
Yeah, like we said, really Obey looking to bounce back. Now, I don't think 1 or 2 games is going to do it. I think they're going to need a little bit more time than that, to figure everything out. But this is a very, very good start compared to what they've been doing up to this point. 2 kills and about 1,000 gold. A little bit less than that, but about 1,000 gold in the lead. We'll see what Obey can do with it.
It's a very strong start, at least, for CaptainTwig. He hasn't had too much success. Speaking of which, Trixtank now eating a lot of poke damage in Ataraxia.
What?
Along with iRaffer. That's another kill into the duo lane. This is by far the best case situation for Obey.
Absolutely. Yeah, I got nothing else to say. That is the best case scenario. Something I want to bring up that is not directly affecting it, but interesting, is the Warrior's Blessing on iRaffer. Not going Guardian's Blessing. So he's not looking for the extra farm that Guardian's Blessing gives him, similar to the Watcher's Gift of last year. He's looking to attack often.
That's not the only thing that he did a little bit differently. If you'll notice, he didn't buy boots or any other items because he wanted the upgraded sprint from the start.
Oh, that's what he did.
That's why Twig was able to run down Zyrhoes and continuously auto-attack without any penalties.
I love that. See, and that's oh man, that's what I'm talking about. When iRaffer does the wonky stuff, just looking for the fights, like that's the type of stuff that if that doesn't work out, he looks really bad. But when it does work out, he looks great, and I applaud iRaffer, and I think this duo lane is going to work out really well. You said that Ataraxia kind of went closer to the meta last year as opposed to what he's used to doing. Ataraxia, I think, just thinks independently, and sometimes that lines up with the meta, and sometimes that doesn't. And iRaffer, one of the first guys to bring Emperor's Armor out. iRaffer, one of the first guys to play Ymir at a competitive level in the support role, right? He also thinks independently. Sometimes it lines up with the meta. Long term, this is a really cool duo lane. Right away, it's going to be a little tough.
Right away, it's going to be incredibly tough for Dignitas, just because what are you meant to do whenever you're automatically having to succeed to the enemy team's duo? I mean, it wasn't even just a start. Normally you say, okay guys, we dropped 2 kills before the match even started. That sucks, but we can bounce back.
Yeah, forget it. But that secondary kill in lane?
Oh, yeah, no, that is all downhill from there in the duo lane, especially against an Uller Sylvanas duo lane at that. It's a bit of a doozy. And when you're risking it for the biscuit by picking Odin support, I mean, your whole thought process here is, I need the lead early game. It's kind of like what happened to iRaffer all those times he was running Kakolin support. You're looking for that early game lead.
It's interesting that, I mean, Trixtank, very adept at the Odin. He's done it many times in the past. I mean, kind of claimed a fame on the warrior support. Minions even hurt less than they used to, right? It seems very interesting that he would die this early.
It's just how much pressure you can actually get from those Sylvanas autos and the Ullr abilities at the start. Having this stance switcher hunter is pretty strong of an asset.
It's I don't know what to think about the Trixtank. What was that? You saw something.
I was waiting to see if Qvo would actually manage to find anything out of that rotation, but he was already spotted out by Obey. CaptainTwig, though, hovering the thought of maybe messing around with Trixtank. He's only level 3. Twig is 5. Qvo's 5. But now iRaffer just hit level 5, too.
Well, there's the ultimate coming out from QvoFred. Not going to be able to find it. The knockup from iRaffer is good. And Obey, there's the slow onto the Odin. Jumps away. Like it. CaptainTwig low on mana. Still chasing enemies down. Meanwhile, other side, Xaliea picks up the 1v1 on the Sobek. And Variety is going to go back to Gotham.
Have a very strong feeling. Xaliea did an excellent job plucking him into the tower and then tail whipping him to prevent him from escaping.
Yeah.
And so by the time he was actually trying to get out, he was already dead.
Xalia's the original independent thinker. Again, coming back to that central idea of independent thought on this team. Xaliea played all of the weird stuff in the solo lane. And solo Sobek, very standard now. That used to be kind of strange, and you know who made it standard? Xaliea was one of the first people to bring it out. So he's certainly got a lot of years on the crock and making Variety, reminding Variety that, hey, I was the solo lane guy before you were. Remember Season 2? Sit down.
Variety's starting to remember it now if he'd forgotten it already. That's a pretty huge solo kill. That's also not someone you expect to ever get soloed in the solo lane.
Yeah, Variety's claim to fame. He picked tier and beat you up. That's what he did. That's how he got himself known. But Xaliea kind of did the same thing. He picked Bakasura and beat you up. I don't know if we're going to see that anytime soon, but the Sobek certainly doing it. And, Obey Alliance certainly doing it. Now 2 men strong on the right side of the map looking for Variety. Get his ultimate, and that might be good enough. CaptainTwig heads back into the jungle.
That's still a huge force out of an ult, though, because Variety is now just so vulnerable to this Arachne rotation. He doesn't have any vision for himself either, so would have absolutely no idea other than just glancing into the jungle himself whether or not Twig is actually lurking any of those corners. That's going to automatically force him to play a little bit more passive against the Sobek. Very ideal situation for Xaliea.
Yeah, and the bat, Kamazotz has the little baby jump. Arachne's going to chase you down so hard. Gotta be careful of that Variety. Still taking the fight. 75% HP on him. Xaliea, very healthy, comparatively speaking. QvoFred heading to the left side as the right side mid-Harpies go the way of Obey Alliance, who started this game off hot. A couple of minutes shy of 10, and Obey Alliance already up about 1,000 gold, give or take.
And Twig still managing to hold on to that slight lead that he established over Qvo from the beginning of the match, and Qvo just now hitting level 7. Gonna make him pretty potent with some of the bleed capabilities on the Daji dot damage on top of just the initial burst in general, but it do seem as though CaptainTwig is looking for that stone cutting sword yet again.
Oh, just barely off the mark. Xaliea trying to show Variety how much he loves him there. But not gonna find a nice little dash away from the bats. I like that. That was cute.
Don't want to eat the slow damage, and you also don't want to allow Variety a free chance to heal.
Uh-oh, Trixtank pulled. There's the combination from Ullr. Ataraxia not able to find it, but the dot damage from iRaffer, good enough. We'll take it, he says. 3 kills for the new support, Sylvanas.
Arkkyl just immediately dashing back into his T1 tower line safety. Eddie stayed further up for just a moment longer. No doubt in my mind that iRaffer pops that sprint, and him and Ataraxia are looking for another kill.
iRaffer is a higher level than the enemy Hunter up until this point by 2. Arkkyl just now hitting level 7. Certainly a good look for the dual lane. Very curious though, Taco. I want to ask you a question here. I mean, Raffer forewent the Guardian Blessing. He doesn't have the luxury of getting some of the extra gold. How is he able to stay relevant? Is he stealing the kills?
It's just because of the pressure that they have against Dignitas's dual lane jungle. They've been able to secure the purple buff. I believe that we just saw CaptainTwig, in fact, sitting in that purple buff, just knocking it down. Plus the fact that Raffer's just getting all this kills. The 3-0-1 Sylvanas support. So the Traveler's Shoes as well were the boots that he elected to go for. That's going to help mitigate some of the
zooming
lack of gold that he would have normally been receiving and just keep him on par. It's really Trixtank who's got to be more concerned. He does have the Talaria boots and the Guardian's Blessing as well, but it's just the fact that he's level 6, and it's already difficult enough for supports to farm. But when you're a warrior trying to act as a support role, your team has a really tough time looking for an engage. They're kind of relying on Trixtank to be the initiation factor, but how do you do that when you're so far behind everybody else?
Exactly, and it's technically still Odin time. Odin has a really, we talk early game characters. I mean, he deletes you in the beginning and then, you know, rings you. But that deletion, he still has the damage for a little bit, but the problem is it's not going to be there against the tankiness that's already coming at level 2, the Steel Mail on Sylvanas.
But even looking at the rest of Dignitas' draft, Odin aside, Odin Cage seems very effective against Arachne, Sobek, Sylvanas, and even Ullr to an extent. Discordia and Ullr not usually the case, but it's just the fact that what is he meant to do? That's so much damage from those fighters.
He's got to go back to base. Just from the spiders alone. That's really where Arachne gets very frustrating to play against, is when she gets this lead, she's almost unfightable, and the spiders can do damage on their own. Obey starting the first Gold Fury of the game here. 25% on it. Hunter being zoned out. Mid lane mage is here. Doesn't have the ultimate. Zyrhoes can't find it. Zyrhoes does find it. He does find it. He does find it. Doesn't even need the ultimate. Gets it old-fashioned style with the unstable vortex. That's a dink.
That's just being lazy. Obey even saw the Giannis ultimate come flying across. They leash the Gold Fury. Okay, awesome. But then to pick it back up right in front of Zyrhoes' face and not even bother messing with the dude and just letting him free cast that unstable vortex.
Yeah, that's, you can't, you know what, Obey Alliance sat there and they went, okay, we passed the threat. The ultimate is done. We are good. And then Zyrhoes showed up and said, I don't think so. And then hit him with the unstable.
The ult was just a prank.
Just a prank, says Zyrhoes, but this one looks like an attempt in earnest. Team Dignitas snatch away the Pyromancer. CaptainTwig gonna take care of Variety. QvoFred trying to dive on top of Xaliea, but PrettyPriMe chained up, as is Raffer, as is Twig. 3 players, and Daji off to the races. She's gone. Nice retreat. Obey still 6-zip, but Team Dignitas have stolen away the objectives and have tied the game.
Prime and Twig both didn't even bother using their purification beads there. They didn't think that they would have the chase down potential to catch up to Qvo. At the same time, they also knew there was going to be 0 follow-up whatsoever, no actual threat off of that Daji ultimate. But that kind of goes back to what I was trying to mention earlier before that Gold Fury happened, in that Trixtank has an Odin ult that can be useful against Obey's draft, but to what extent, considering that the rest of his team has really awkward follow-up? Normally when you pick an Odin, you're looking for those big AoE ultimates, and outside of the Hachiman, you're not really finding too much of that.
Right, and that's kind of problematic, I guess, for the guys on Team Dignitas. Zyrhoes does have, you know, some of that AoE damage, I suppose, but that will be an issue, I think, going forward.
It's almost forcing Dig to play their comp as way more of a pick-oriented composition than what they probably were looking for initially. I think that they like the mentality of having Variety and Qvo on these dive assassins just to keep bothering Obey's backline, but you're not going to really have a solid opportunity to do that if your whole team is falling really far behind early on and your Odin support is just practically irrelevant.
Exactly. Variety and QvoFred both have abilities that they can reach those backline characters without much interruption. And Trixtank is going to probably be interrupted, but just cause problems for the front and backline while he tries to lock them in. But if you're behind, you just don't have the damage to fight into it. And so it's a rough spot for Team Dignitas to be in, which is why it's so important that they're able to pick up those Gold Furies, still trailing pretty drastically in experience. But the gold will keep them relevant a little bit.
It's like both of these teams, again, just swap positions from Game 1 to Game 2. Obey Alliance are looking just as dominant as Dignitas were in Game number 1, and a lot of that's just due to the draft straight up at a competitive level of play. Draft just mean so much more, and having even the slightest mishap can ultimately cause your team to fall pretty far behind.
You know, that's interesting that you say that, because I would argue that execution is more important than draft at a high level. I see what you're saying, that when you're a great player and you're playing against great players, the great players can find the smallest pros of the character, and also great players can exploit the smallest weaknesses of those characters. But I think I'm still on the side of execution.
For me, the main reason why I don't bear as much weight to the execution factor is because some gods and some comps, based on what you're looking for, are a lot more forgiving if the execution isn't on point. But when you look for a draft based primarily around that execution factor, kind of like what Dignitas is doing right now, you feel the repercussions of it significantly more.
Sure. So I think I agree with you now, but we'll put a pause on this one as Variety forced into the ultimate. He's going to go under the tower. Xaliea thought about it, but ultimately does decide to keep his guns in their holsters. And the tier 1 tower on the right side will belong to Obey Alliance.
Trixtank looking to make that rotation, maybe trying up a soul laner out, but CaptainTwig is just making quick work of this T1. We all know Xaliea is not really doing too much with those Sobek auto attacks. That's probably 40 a pick, but Arkkyl actually getting a little aggressive here with Ataraxia as the dodge over the wall.
Over the wall comes the dodge. He didn't expect that. QvoFred puts his team on the scoreboard at 15 minutes. Nice surprise gank by the jungler.
It's the worst part about dealing with a Daji. You never know when she's coming up for you.
Arkkyl dodged out the ultimate, almost ran into it a second time, fires some shots back. You know, I really like the, he dodged the unruly magic, like standing still. You catch that? That was fun. That was fun.
The best juke is no juke.
The non-juke. Man, those jokes go all the way back. All the way back, right?
Some OG Smite days.
Who jukes that way? Shout out to our old friend Lasses. what a good guy.
You know Maddie's gonna come after you for that one. He's gonna say it every single time. I told Lasses about that first.
I'm unfamiliar with Maddie. Who is that? I don't know. My favorite Smite streamer is Taco, actually.
Oof. I'm gonna hear about this later on.
I won't. What you're gonna hear about now is Obey Alliance in the lead, 6-1. Right now, Gold Fury back up. Do they look for just the raw fight, or is Team Dignitas the gold? Is the gold tie a little bit too much for just the raw look?
It's enough for Team Dignitas to definitely want to try and contest this. They can't afford to let another objective go freely, and I mean, if you think about it, they already stole the first one, so might as well try it again in the second.
Well, there's my answer. Obey Alliance and Team Dignitas going to go ahead and put it to the test. iRaffer gets pulled, no big deal. CaptainTwig, however, chases out Giannis, and that will be a big deal. It's a 4-on-5 essentially here, and Zyrhoes has to go back to base nice and early, and so Obey Alliance will pull the Gold Fury. And with Zyrhoes not around, chance of steal is a little bit lower here, Taco, but still being extra careful. Odin jumps forward, drops down the ring. Gold Fury's going to break it. That's a big deal. And Xaliea is going to break Trixtank, taking care of business. Gold Fury picked up one more time by Obey Alliance.
Managing to pull out those purification beats from Arkkyl. He's got to be careful not to get CC, but in the backside, Quvo finds Ataraxia one more time. Completely unexpected. All the attention had been towards that Gold Fury. CaptainTwig is able to respond, get revenge for his teammate, but now it's iRaffer trying to go in onto Variety.
Nice knock-up coming out from the Tree Man. Variety goes in the ultimate, thinks about being aggressive, sees CaptainTwig and the rest of Obey, and immediately turns around. A little bit of aggression. I thought CaptainTwig was going to find the Giannis, but he walks through the wall instead. There's the dash. Not going to be enough. Not going to save your life. Iojutsu, not good enough. Man on a horse. Not good enough either. The spider comes down from the sky, takes out one. Dealing with variety might be trouble as here comes the Odin. 3 players, and that's good enough. Zyrhoes combines with the solo lane and support to put CaptainTwig in a box.
Zyrhoes just annihilated CaptainTwig there. For a moment, you thought he might have pulled out the juke shoes, been able to survive just a little bit longer, but
Right.
no magical protection, and that is a level 16 Giannis. Completely destroyed him in that one moment, but very important that he did so, because a little bit longer, if Variety hadn't had the backup of his squad mates, he probably would have died there as well.
Yeah, I mean, the build out of Zyrhoes right now is really, really, really cute. He's rushed the Chronos Pendant, so no Warlock staff or anything like that, just immediately going into that big burst of CDR, and then following up with the Soul Gem, which is a big burst of damage. So by going the Chronos Pendant, you're actually foregoing a little bit of power that you might traditionally get with other items, but you make up for the lost power with the % damage that the Soul Gem's going to do. It's a brilliant build, Taco.
Zero's probably thinking the same exact thing as he hovers behind that Gold Fury wall, trying to just get an edge.
Ult it, ult it, ult it. Nice pull by Obey to bring the objective forward so it wouldn't be hit by the Giannis ult. But now it's the full leash as Dignitas looking for the entirety of the enemy team. Team Dignitas, Xaliea pops out from under the water and pushes Zyrhoes back into it. Here comes the Powwow from QvoFred. Damage could be good enough, and it will be. PrettyPriMe will sit down 1 for 1. No mid lane mages left. Ataraxia being chased out. Variety hits him with 2, and one more basic will confirm it, and he gets it, but not until CaptainTwig and the rest of the team find him. CaptainTwig surrounded, and the Arachnid likely going to fall down, gets a little bit of lifesteal. QvoFred not willing to chase, actually. So CaptainTwig gets out by the skin of his teeth, and now the Gold Fury is all about Team Dignitas.
Love the discipline from Dignitas on that decision, not bothering to chase around the Arachne. And another Gold Fury now goes down in favor of Team Dignitas, but at a price. They're going to cost them their support for it.
Team Dignitas, they'll trade Trixtank. Well, they'll trade Trixtank for a lot. But right now, they're trading Trixtank for a Gold Fury. No concerns there. I was concerned that they didn't leash it. When Xaliea and everybody shows up, I'm sitting here like, Dig, you just stole it from Obey. You know what happens when you don't zone. But Team Dignitas do wind up on top of the objective, so they're on top of the gold as well.
The Gold Fury plus the string of kills that Dignitas just received has actually projected them into the lead now over OB Alliance. But Arkkyl, this is not a boxing trade you want to take, trying to use this T1 tower as his ally.
Nice try.
Ultimate coming through from Zyrhoes just to really make sure that CaptainTwig can't get away, but a beautiful blink out of the Arachne is going to get him away from QvoFred just in time.
Wow, really nice reactions coming out from the jungle Arachne there. And you know, that was, I liked that play from Twig. You know, he just didn't find the stun. Nice juke shoes coming out from Arkkyl. And that'll let CaptainTwig kind of walk away. Just a reminder, Obey Alliance banned out Thoth, Chalk, and Kukulkan. Kukulkan. I still get this mixed up. Left side tower will fall down. Team Dignitas collecting even more gold. 5K lead.
The thing is, Dignitas were also probably expecting CaptainTwig to rock this Arachne pick yet again. It's been something that he's seemed to lean on so far in his first couple of sets, and it's a really interesting pickup, but this is the first time that we've actually seen some moderate success with it.
I've really liked Arachne, and he hasn't found the success until now, but she brings a lot of damage, albeit individual damage. She's a nice individual assassin. Right now, it can lock players down. It forces a lot of relics a lot of the time. But Arachne is one of the old school CaptainTwig picks.
The big thing for me is I want to see some more peel for Ataraxia in that backline. One of the main reasons why Obey seemed to be struggling a little bit in these team fights is because Ataraxia just keeps getting focused out. It's so difficult for an Uller without a CC immune ult to try and escape. Speaking of which, now it's going to be iRaffer having to pop that sprint so early on.
Nice knockup. That's going to force Trixtank and friends off of the tower. Xalia's going to join up, and Obey Alliance will be 5 strong as they look towards the mid lane tower. Tier 1, dashing in the jungle, ready to pop and come back. And the bat is going to drop the speed buff. 5-on-4 here in the middle lane until Variety joins. Obey Alliance not really taking the fight just yet. Trixtank does have his ultimate on cooldown. Just used it kind of inexplicably. But Obey pushing forward very slowly. And Variety taking care of CaptainTwig in the jungle here. Variety with a big heal. But going to take some damage as well.
CaptainTwig in a 1v1 just cannot lose that. He is so heavily in favor during those, and Obey Alliance, they didn't even bother using their Phantom. iRaffer actually held onto that active. Despite Trixtank having dropped a cage with a couple of its members underneath the tower, they still weren't deep enough into that T1.
Nice pull! Trixtank going to be pulled right on in by iRaffer. Forced into the jump, and there's a nice ultimate by PrettyPriMe. But really love what Trixtank did there. Was running to his teammates, realized he had the apple on him, and had to back up so he wouldn't hit them with that explode damage.
Still managed to connect onto Trixtank, though. Unfortunate landing, I should say, just because the apple managed to connect onto him. Luckily, it wasn't spread to the rest of his team, otherwise we might have seen some further pursuit out of Obey Alliance. But for right now, both of these teams happy to just settle with keeping their T1s in mid alive. No contest yet for the Pyromancer.
Not just yet, and as our game gets later and later, I'm curious as to who's going to be the first Fire Giant push. A 4,000 gold lead does not a winner make. So we'll see where Team Dignitas go from here. Whether they look for more picks, they just go outright for the Fire Giant, or they do something else entirely. I do think the next fight we see will be around this Fire Giant, though.
Most of this game is riding pretty heavily here on Qvo and Zyrhoes. They're kind of the catalyst members to get these team fights going. They need to pack a significant punch early on. Otherwise, Obey is just going to have the sustain game. If they don't take out a member immediately with their pick composition, then they're not going to be able to out-muscle Obey in the team fights.
iRaffer has the sustain by way of the Wisps. You're going to see some help from Xaliea on himself, obviously. CaptainTwig, just don't want to be one of him. He's going to heal for his whole life bar. That's one of the scarier things about the Arachne. And I love that the Arachne went the absolute don't box me bro build. Buying the Nemean Lion on top of being Arachne. That's just obnoxious.
It's the Void Shield as well. I mean, that's a fairly uncommon item. I'm not used to seeing it too often anymore, but the physical protections that it helps remove, really important for a god like Arachne that just wants to stick to a single member.
Doesn't have the luxury of the true damage like the Butcher Blades on Bakasura. Nice ultimate coming out from the Giannis, and I don't know if you can tell by my tone, I'm not sure if either team want to stick to this fight, but with that Odin Ring, they certainly do. Zyrhoes is going to turn up and put down PrettyPriMe. Xaliea, on the other hand, just handling two separate players, but the stun of the Ayajutsu. Arkkyl's able to find it. Here comes Twiggy, though. That can be problems as long as he doesn't get hunted down by Arkkyl. But it looks like he will. Twiggy will have to run away, narrowly avoiding the jump. Here comes the team, and, well, sometimes you step on the bug.
The way that Dignitas was able to distract Obey so heavily in that engagement is just absurd. No one was paying attention to Ataraxia just having to take up this 1v1. Qvo actually took one of those Giannis portals so deep into Obey's jungle and so far away from everybody else that no one was expecting. Ataraxia definitely was not expecting the blink dodge into the third ability follow-up, getting that leash onto Ataraxia. Even after using his Aegis, he still wasn't able to stay alive long enough to assist his team any further. And as soon as one member goes down, it's like a dominoes effect for Dignitas. This draft just flourishes as soon as they get one pick.
A lot of times what happens is, and it's funny because it sounds really like, how could you do that? But during the chaos of a team fight, out of sight, out of mind, right? You're battling it out. And I've sat in comms with professional players. I'm not talking about my own gameplay. You sit there and you're fighting, and then all of a sudden, halfway through, you go, "Where's Daji?" And it's already too late. If you're asking where that player is, they're behind you, ready to kill you. And I think that's what happened. Obey are sitting there like, "Yo, we got a good team fight. CaptainTwig is separating two players. This is really good." Wait a second, has anybody seen Qvo? And then single kill, double kill, and you're like, well, I don't know what to do.
I don't want to call it tunnel vision onto Trixtank.
Yeah, it's
because
not.
It didn't feel like tunnel vision. It just felt more like oh man, we already lost 2 of our carries.
Yeah.
We need to find a pick somewhere to try and bounce back from this. Let's just go for the guy sitting at 20% of his health bar, except it's the support, so lockdown potential, not really there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not tunnel vision, sort of like the last-ditch effort, right? I'm going to die, so I turn and burn anyway. Sometimes you might get lucky.
It felt a lot more like an attempt, a last-minute attempt to really make something out of nothing, because
You're getting
that fight,
decided.
exactly, it just was not going to pan out super well for Obey there. Just a really unforeseen turn of events.
Yeah, unforeseen and unforgivable. Team Dignitas not in a forgiving mood right now. 16,000 above their opposition. Still trailing in kills, but that does not matter. Dig already.
The fun has only just begun, though. Sieging with this kind of draft from Dignitas against what Obey is running, this is where Obey's probably best last-ditch effort is actually standing at, is defending these Phoenixes. CaptainTwig already trying to handle Variety in the mid lane, who's paying him no mind whatsoever, just focusing the Phoenix entirely until that cleave auto is going to get the focus onto him.
Oh, look at that play. Everybody shifted over to the right side, and then Odin drops the ring, so they physically can't make it to the Phoenix. Team Dignitas are unable to find the damage and do have to retreat, but that was fun to look at. I enjoyed that. Just a little out of range. Paolau not going to do it. Left side, however, nice pull by iRaffer. Going to bring in the Odin. Trixtank is still jumping around. Xaliea with the thorns won't be a target, but the Phoenix will be. And the far side bird goes down. So does Twiggy. Zyrhoes blew him up there. Nice stuff. Again, shout outs to the Soul Gem.
Yikes. Speaking of which, Trixtank tanking up this mid lane Phoenix. Not too much left in the way of Dignitas and a clean 2-0 victory, although can't really call it clean. Clean is unfair to Obey. They had such a great job. Speaking of which, another ultimate from Zyrhoes. Unstable Vortex doing so much damage. Arkkyl gonna get that Blood Force passive going, but it's the Titan that he's got next in his sights.
3 players left to play defense, and yeesh, if the damage wasn't that high, I say they might have a chance, but down it goes, and boy, the throws. Obey Alliance might have had it in control in the beginning, but unfortunately for them, 6-0 wasn't enough to find the win. Ultimately, the turnaround and the 2-zip.
It's that first Gold Fury. I keep going back to thinking on that first Gold Fury where Zyrhoes just steals it away from an Unstable Vortex, and then suddenly Dignitas were 3K ahead of Obey, despite Obey having had control of the early game section.
But again, I want to drive this home to the Obey fans at home because I know there's a ton of you. Really big deal to look at the beginning of that game and say, all right, there is something here to think about and look forward to. So I think there are positive days for Obey in the future. Was iRaffer the MVP, or was it on the other side, the actual winning team? Let us know in Mixer chat right now. We'll figure out who the MVP is going to be. Taco, I'm going to make you pick.
If I had to make a choice, I would definitely have to give it to Zyrhoes in that game.
Zyrhoes certainly making it happen. Right now, it's going to be Ryan making it happen. What's up, Desk?
What up, casters? There it goes. 2-0, the favor of Dignitas. Totally, at least we got some signs of life there from Obey, though. Certainly the best they looked all day.
Absolutely. Getting that first blood for CaptainTwig was very important to get the ball rolling for Obey Alliance, but the problem was not being able to secure those Gold Furies. 10.5 minutes in,
yeah.
Zero steals that Gold Fury, keeps Dignitas in the game, and then 9 minutes later, where they find a pick onto PrettyPriMe and Ataraxia, get their second Gold Fury. They're down 5-11 in the kill chart. Dignitas is down that scoreboard, but they're up 3,500 gold.
Objectives are the name of the game. Kills are great and all, but until you get the objectives, you're not going to win the game. Also, I mean, they steal that first Gold Fury, and then they go to Pyromancer, and all of a sudden, Variety's able to steal that one away, too. It was back-to-back objectives stolen away by Dignitas, and that kind of opened the door. They were already in a pretty decent spot, but really blew the doors open, if you will, and kept Obey down. Despite that excellent start, I mean, you can't ask for much more than CaptainTwig getting first blood on Arachne, and then iRaffer getting 2 kills early on.
And I think the problem also was the draft. The late-game draft composition here did not favor Obey Alliance. Giannis on Zyrhoes was just so clutch there. His portals all across the board actually enabled that deicide around the 26 minutes.
Man, Zyrhoes killed it. I mean, we were just talking about how impactful that Gold Fury steal was. That's on Zyrhoes' back. That team fight, as you mentioned, got kind of started off by his unstable vortex, or by his ultimate. Zyrhoes all over the map. He is your MVP for game number 2 between Dignitas and Obey. Finished very high up on the player damage charts, and that's before you talk about the utility that Giannis can bring at any given time. I mean, he should get a special little counter of all his teammates that he saves or gets to move around and that kind of stuff. So it's Dignitas end up finding the victory 2-0. If you missed our update show that we did yesterday, we previewed a bunch of 6 skins that were going to be coming out, and you're going to need some gems. Trust me. Make sure you go check those out. Make sure you grab some gems right now, up to 35% off gem packs, only a limited time. Again, you're going to need it. So in particular, an excellent Zeus skin, Tolly.
Oh, yeah. Your favorite god, I'm sure. I know
You
what I'll
already
be
know.
doing after this broadcast, going immediately to check out those gem sales.
Immediately?
Immediately.
Like right away?
Right. Can I do it now?
No, you can't. You know what we can do right now is we can talk to Trixtank, your support for Team Dignitas. He's standing by with Tom for an interview.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. And what's up, Trixtank? First of all, glad to talk to you. I haven't seen you in a long time since Super Regionals.
It's been a while, 6 months, and I am ready to play again.
Yeah, a lot of the players that we've spoken to, you know, and I'm legitimately not being Hindu Man or Savage or anything. You guys didn't make Worlds, and you know that's rough. A lot of the players that we spoke to, it's just been a couple of months. 6 months since competitive gaming for you. I mean, what's that like?
It's been pretty boring, but to be fair, like I've been playing Smite since the beginning. I'm one of the oldies in the scene, and it's been really good. Like I actually took 4 months completely off Smite, and played other games, just chilled with my friends. So it was actually good for once to like clean off, like get a break. But I know for some of the others, like it was very boring.
Yeah,
but then again, like it's always, I would rather go to Worlds, of course, but it was what it was.
Exactly. One of the oest of Gs. I remember launch tournament. We won't talk about those stories. But seriously, missing Worlds. How does that affect the team? You guys are one of the best teams in the world. You know how highly I held you guys. Not making Worlds. I mean, were you guys upset? Were you guys mad?
Oh, we were madly upset, but I feel like everyone, like, in order for us to lose as hard as we did, everybody needed to play off. Like, not only like 1 or 2 players for us to lose, like we needed every single player to play bad. And I think that's what happened. And everybody realized that that was the reason, and that just can't happen. And we know what we did wrong in the practice and in the week up to, and hopefully, or we will do it better for next LAN events. So we learned our lesson.
So what's that conversation like, you know, in Vent or TeamSpeak or whatever? What's that conversation like, you know, all right, well, we didn't make Worlds. We're still this damn good. I mean, did you guys immediately know you were going to stick together? Were you looking at different teams, or how did that work in the offseason?
I actually, I don't know, like there was a little bit about like maybe we should do something else, but we were pretty friendly towards each other. As I said, like everybody did pretty bad, so nobody could really blame each other, right?
Sure.
So we were on the same page, and nobody was mad. It was just a friendly conversation, and we all agreed to the fact that we are insane, and if we just keep our level up, have a little bit more professional scrim environment, then we'll be the best team next year or this year.
Really like to see that attitude, Trixtank, and like I said, you're one of the older guys in the scene, and we've come to expect that from you, and you know the team as well. Zyrhoes performing really strong, and let's leave yesteryear in the past. Let's talk about now. You guys came out and looked really good against Obey. I mean, what are you guys thinking for the new season?
I mean, I'm kind of liking it. There's a variety of support support guards that you can play, so I'm really enjoying it right now. Like I've never enjoyed Smite as much as I do right now, mainly because of the variety of guards you can play. Overall, the team is getting really good into the meta, so I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun to play and a lot of fun to keep an eye on as well. Before I will let you go, I want to give you a chance to give a couple of shout outs to friends, family, or whoever else.
Shout out to Arkkyl for having a beast duel lane except the last game. Other than that, shout out to Dignitas and all our sponsors. We appreciate it. And shout out to my mom.
Thank you very much. That's Trixtank support and everybody's favorite player from Team Dignitas. Thank you for joining us. Back to you, Ryan.
Thank you very much, Tom. That concludes our broadcast today for the EU SPL, but we've got plenty more. Let's first let's take a look at the standings after today's matches. We saw 3 matches today. Team Dignitas looked really, really good in their 2. They come out today with a 2-0. Obey Alliance, a disappointing showing today, fall to 0-2. As for tomorrow, it's the NASPL. It's going to start at 5 p.m. Eastern. We will have the Global Series at 11, take a break, then come to the SPL. Just to recap what you missed maybe, LG surprised the United, brought down the defending world champs 2-0, and then we got a couple looks at CLG and Splice, some new organizations. CLG won that 2-1. We'll see CLG Trifecta open us up tomorrow. Again, that's at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Our second match of the day is going to be E United versus Space Station. We'll get a preview for that tonight as they play live from Las Vegas. Those will be different games, to clarify. And then Trifecta versus Space Station will close us out tomorrow. So make sure you join us again, 11 a.m. for Smite Global Series, Latin America games, and then at 5 o'clock, SPL North America. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much for watching today, and we'll see you tomorrow.